In the latest BBC bulletin, the country is in turmoil. Our once proud nation in ruins. With a heavy heart, the Provisional Martial Law Authority has announced the dissolution of Parliament and the formation of military government. We set ourselves the target of 1 year to stabilise the country and establish firm footing for a new round of elections. In terms of history, the UK has, in various guises, been a major world power from the medieval period onwards. At its peak, the British Empire was the biggest single authority the planet has ever seen. During the 20th century, the empire was reduced and replaced by the Commonwealth. As the 20th century progressed, internal stress and dissatisfaction spread throughout the UK. Living conditions plummeted as unemployment rose. The citizens' confidence in the government hit an all-time low, as those with jobs paid higher and higher taxes, yet saw no return from their investment. In 1999, it all fell apart. Welsh and Scottish nationalists joined the IRA in the fight against the British. Then the wasting plague hit in 2000, killing millions. The government collapsed, incapable of running the country. In 2001, the army staged a coup. They placed the country under martial law until the situation could stabilise again. King Charles III refused to accept this as valid and was removed from office. Most of the population didn't even notice. They were too busy trying to survive. Government was provided by the Martial Law Provisional Council, or MLPC, which replaced Parliament. The actual process of running the country was left with the existing civil servants on the basis that they knew what they were doing. So why change it? Shortly after the coup, King Charles led a revolt with the support of the Royal Marines and a few army units. Once the MLPC had dealt with it, and Charles, they began an undercover operation to track down and eliminate the monarchy. Thus, the kingdom was born. Regarded as Europe's most oppressed and violent society since the dissolution of Parliament and the declaration of martial law, the UK has fallen apart. Most of Britain's cities are in a state of terminal decay. Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales are in revolt. National feelings boil over under the weight of oppression. Monarchist insurgents attempt the overthrow of the MLPC all over England. Unfortunately for the resistance groups, their efforts are severely hampered by a lack of communication and cooperation, and by the best and most ruthless troops on earth. The Lord Generals, being expert soldiers, use the maxim of divide and conquer. They've split the country into 8 martial law authorities, or MLAs, with passes being required to travel between them. Passes are valuable, with the all areas open travel permit considered to be worth killing for. The MLAs are ruled from the cities, and the cities are the heart of British culture. Violent and desperate, vital and urgent, full of protest and idealism. The streets of Britain produce vicious gangs, hot rockers, ruthless solos, sharp netrunners, and some pretty chill cyberware. Where the rest of Europe appears content with its soft plastic values, Britain still has that cyberpunk ethos. Nowhere is this more evident than the British capital. London is renowned all over the world as a city on the edge. Whether you're looking for cyberware or the nastiest gang wars, it can easily rival Night City. Its skyline dominated by the sinister black glass and steel of 1,200 feet Sentry Tower, and with its eastern areas under a full foot of scummy water, London is a city where you're either very lucky or dead. London is a city of contrasts. The glamour and luxury of corp-controlled Mayfair against the permanently flooded rotting combat zone of the East End. The gleaming cyberware of Memory Lane against the permanently smog-ridden alleys and back streets. The down and dirty bands playing the marquee against the chromium superstars and gentlemanly atmosphere of Convent Garden. The discreet hero solos in corp bodyguards of the city against the brutality of the infamous London street gangs. It's said that the extreme levels of violence provide a breeding ground for some of the best solos in the business, for those who manage to survive. Nomads are also ubiquitous, simple fugitives from martial law, bandits and freedom fighters, hippies who left the cities to protest autocratic rule and tend towards reverence for a simple, inchoate nature cult, focusing on traditional sites such as Stonehenge and Glastonbury. Relatively well educated, politically and environmentally aware, organised, most are a far cry from the unwashed looters of the popular stereotype. Official culture is not as dominated by the military as one might expect. One BBC channel is run directly by the army, but beyond the omnipresent censorship, the rest are kept under a loose rein. This, after all, is the general's guiding principle. They don't want to be bothered with the details of government and of taking over a civil service of handling all this. The real heart of British culture, though, is out in the streets, in its violent and constant undercurrent of protest, idealism and despair. Some flee the control of the MLAs in a nomad life. Most turn to internal street-level cultural resistance in the kaleidoscopic array of gangs and movements. Revivalism, for example, has a mass appeal, an escape to mythical golden days. Revivalists tend to be counterculture undergrounders, along with other music and style-based groups. The cadaverous goths, for example, whose androgynous black clothes and silver skull accessories make them staple bad guys for continental vid flicks, but which are, by contrast, largely middle-class rebels against the timid conformity and compromises of their upbringing, more likely to be the hotshot deckrunners than doped-out knifers. The underground is a network of groups, not necessarily gangs, though there may be gangs of such types, nor necessarily antagonistic. They tend to cooperate in face of the greater threat posed by suspicious and trigger-happy authorities. They just want to do their own thing, more likely to meet at a gig than in a turf rumble. That's more the scene of the other broad grouping of British street kids, the gangs, usually short-lived groups coalescing around one or two charismatic leaders, the anti-cyber meat boys, and more extreme revivalists. There are also the kamikazes, competing for more dramatic and ridiculous ways of spreading random mayhem, and the subs, dregs fallen through the rudimentary welfare, banded together in tattered, ragged and hungry bands who haunt the night looking for prey to smug, shops to loot, and violence with which to repay society. The overall effect is to bring real urgency and vitality to British street culture. Some of the world's hottest rockers came from its gutters, and many are still there, rejecting the luxury of the corp circuit for the gritty street reality.